Hello, my name is Harzing and I'm a professor, research mentor and staff development lead at Middlesex University London. Today I will be talking about how to create a supportive, collaborative and inclusive research culture. Now I can imagine that was all a bit overwhelming, but remember I didn't launch all of these activities in one go. I built this up incrementally year after year. My work at Middlesex was very much guided by an emergent, incremental and iterative type of strategy with very practical day-to-day on-the-ground support, and some activities that started out as informal gatherings were formalized into official offerings. So I spent a lot of time experimenting with a variety of activities and getting to know the institution's culture and needs. And only then was I able to put it together in a more or less coherent program and start filling the gaps too. So let's look at where to start if you are in an institution that hasn't had a chance to build this up yet, or in one that needs a revamp. And I will also highlight some challenges that I have experienced personally. So just to remind you that this presentation is made up of 4 parts. I will be finishing up this part with some tips on how to get started, but if you haven't already done so, you might also want to watch the 3 other parts of the presentation. First, I talked about the specific challenges and opportunities that non-elite institutions face, and then I outlined some of the options on how to create a leadership structure for building collaborative and exclusive research cultures. And a significant chunk of the presentation was then devoted to outline the program of research support that we have designed at Middlesex University. So what to do if you really have no time and money? This might be because you need to do all of this on top of many other roles, or because your institution is currently not able to invest much in research. Now, then I would suggest you start by joining Karma and encouraging female academics to join Cigna. Cigna is free and Karma costs less than £50 a month. You can also refer academics to my Working in Academia page and to my YouTube channel, where they will find all sorts of resources they can use individually. Then maybe you could organize a monthly research lunch just for information diffusion and community building, and to keep your finger on the pulse of what is happening. Then peer review through Shut Up and Write sessions can also be facilitated if you can find a small group of enthusiastic early career academics who are willing to send out the invites and alternate in hosting the sessions. Once this is working, you could add regular research receptions and maybe facilitate research clusters. Research receptions only commit you to 1.5 hours every month or so, and possibly any follow-up actions from it. Research clusters are a bit more time consuming, as it means setting up a vetting structure for research cluster applications. However, once established, they do run themselves for 2 to 3 years, after which they can be re-accredited. In the next tranche, you could consider running training sessions related to publishing, to funding, to impact. Now, at Middlesex, I am responsible for running publishing sessions with the staff development groups. The Deputy Dean, Research and Knowledge Exchange runs the impact events, and the director of our most established research centre, whose key job it is to write funding applications and who is doing a lot of funded and contract research, is running the funding workshop. Now, I could never do all 3, so I suggest that you decide where the strongest need lie in your institutions and whether you have the right senior expertise for it. And if you can't commit to regular training sessions, then maybe just run 1 or 2 ad hoc sessions a year, and they might gradually develop into something more regular. Now, the other activities that I have outlined in the earlier part of this presentation are either more time-consuming or more costly. Improving information flows and creating organizational memory can be facilitated by monthly bulletins and an online portal. However, these activities do take up quite a lot of my time and they require coordination too. For the monthly bulletin, for instance, I request input from others, so there's a lot of emailing back and forth. And every month I panic that another month has passed and that I need to create another bulletin. The portal is a bit easier as I simply loaded it up with plenty of material over the summer holidays in 2021. And this was material that I had gathered anyway over the last 5 to 10 years. So now I only add to this occasionally. I have found this portal to be very useful to ensure that staff have access to the resources. So I would recommend investing some time in this. Then there are the more personal activities such as dedicated mentors and career development meetings. This we try to divide under our professorial colleagues, but as we don't have that many professorial colleagues, many of us do have quite a high load in this area. Another activity that requires time-consuming personal presence is training on how to improve your research profile, reputation and impact. This includes, for instance, training on research metrics, how to get cited, the main online profiles, and how to use social media effectively in academia. I've just recorded a 90-slide presentation edited into 8 separate videos. Now from April 2022 onwards, I will be running on-demand flipped classroom sessions across the university for research clusters, departments, schools and faculties. So we'll have to see how this goes and how time-consuming this will be. Then finally, there's a tranche of more costly activities that include, for instance, our off-site writing bootcamp and seed-corn funding for small research projects. So running the bootcamp for about 20 people at Cumberland Lodge, that did cost us about £10,000. And we spend about £50,000 a year on seed-corn funding. So this is not a negligible expense, but it should be doable for many institutions, at least in normal times. The costliest activities are in fact increased conference and staff development funding and research time allowances and sabbaticals. Conference and staff development funding is costly if you do increase it, because in inclusive institutions these opportunities are generally made available to all staff rather than just a subset of the most research active colleagues, like for instance the writing bootcamp or seed-corn funding. But of course, just like the writing bootcamp and seed-corn funding, you could also decide to just have one conference budget and let academics bid for it. But by far the costliest support structure of all is providing staff time allowances and sabbaticals, and yet in the social sciences these are, as we know, the most important resources. So that's really a challenge that we all face and that we continue and will continue to struggle with. That said, don't forget though that a little kindness goes a long way. So here are some of the very little things that I've found to be making a big impact. First of all, connecting with new colleagues before they join. Second, providing practical information before joining, especially if they're moving countries as well. And then third, buying them a welcome present. I really like giving new colleagues this book, as it's both a present and a developmental resource. And finally, sometimes just reassuring them that what they are experiencing is normal. And I do this a lot in the monthly group mentor meetings that I'm running with female mentees. But I also do this by email, sharing my own experiences of moving internationally and adjusting to a new university system and country. So finally, I promised to talk about the challenges I'm facing as well. Now here are 2 institutional challenges and 2 personal challenges. The most important challenge, especially in the London area, is staff turnover. Fortunately, at Middlesex, we haven't lost too many good people, as most colleagues are very committed to our university's mission and love working with their colleagues. But even so, we are spending a lot of time on recruitment. The next one is the eternal challenge that we all face, lack of time and money. You can do a lot with limited resources, but ultimately, money and time talks. Now, my personal challenges again are related to time. My workload has grown year after year. I now have very little time for my own research, certainly much less than my junior colleagues, but I guess everyone is experiencing increasing workloads these days. Now the next personal challenge is motivational. Although your work will really be appreciated, you're not likely to hear this very often, and that's obviously something that all senior academics share. Not many will thank their deputy dean or dean, so just keep going. Most important though is the sustainability of your work. So what will happen if you step down? Can someone else take over? And this is the stage I'm currently at Middlesex University, and many of my current initiatives are explicitly directed at ensuring sustainability. Now, not that I have any plans to leave Middlesex or my current job, but we never know what might happen. So first we need to create institutional memory, and I do this through creating monthly research bulletins that, if needed, can be used by my successor to understand what was done in the past. I also created an online portal, recorded videos for one of the key initiatives that I'm running, a writing bootcamp, and this video documents its entire structure. I've also been running a blog since 2016 with weekly posts on all things academia, and I've started a YouTube channel in 2020. Second, we also need to build capacity by inspiring others, and currently I'm very active in talent spotting, trying to identify not only those who can take over my role when I'm no longer available, but also trying to identify those who can engage in peer leadership if we should be able to find a senior academic to replace me. In this, I also try to facilitate team leadership. Many female academics in particular prefer to share leadership roles in order to have a sounding board and create some redundancy. Okay, that's it. If you'd like to do some further reading, I've included some blog posts here, but I think we will have plenty of things to talk about. I'm really looking forward to the live session. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, just leave your comments and questions in the comments section.